So I guess technically speaking, this game counts as a viewer-submitted game of StarCraft 2. So here's the thing. Spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmos and playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have the man who sent me today's replay of StarCraft 2, and he goes by the name of ForJumy. The thing is, most of the time with the viewer-submitted games, they're between people in Bronze League, Silver League, Gold League, Platinum League, and occasionally some games in Diamond and in Masters. However, well, his opponent for this match, you may have already recognized his name. Playing here with the red Terran SCVs from South Korea, we have none other than ByuN. Now, ByuN, of course, one of the all-time legends of StarCraft 2, a previous world champion. He's known as the one-man army, Micro Jackson himself. He plays a very aggressive playstyle of Terran. A lot of fun to watch. Really, if you watched any StarCraft 2 over the last decade or so, you probably have you've probably come across ByuN at some point in your journey. Now, I don't really know exactly what happens in this game, obviously. I just know that Yumy sent it over to me. I'm not really too familiar with Yumy's playstyle either, so we'll find out together. I did a little bit of research, though, and this is what I found, according to his Wikipedia page. He's currently a 19-year-old Protoss player from Germany, sitting at 6.3k MMR, which makes him currently right around rank 27 on the Grandmaster ladder on the European server. And at this point in a season, that's actually really quite impressive. Earlier on, it's quite difficult, or it's quite easy to climb, I suppose, but like later on into a season, it can be really quite difficult to climb up that ladder. So, and this is quite funny, actually. There's a little bit of trivia on his page. According to his Wikipedia page, he started playing StarCraft 2 because of his dad. His father apparently was top 80 Grandmaster with both Zerg and Protoss in Heart of the Swarm. Isn't that cool? I wish my dad played games, man. I mean, we occasionally play chess on our phones, right? We play a game of chess from time to time. We both suck. That's about as many video games as my dad plays. And I don't even think chess really counts as a video game. I mean, we play it on our phones, right? So, yeah, kind of. Anyways. Should be an interesting game, though. I'm assuming Yumy is familiar with the fact as well that, generally speaking, I cast the crazier games of StarCraft 2, especially with the viewer-submitted matches. Now, obviously, the higher you climb up on the ladder, the less likely it becomes to... You know, it's just not as easy to go for a crazy build order in Grandmaster League as it is in, like, for example, Silver League, right? There's not really as much room to outplay your opponent, because if you do something really funky, if you decide to go for a really cheesy build order, you're very likely... Yeah, you're just likely to see ByuN just shut it down and then you look like a fool, right? That's more often than not what happens, so I'm assuming there's going to be at least a little bit of craziness, but for now, at the very least, everything looks quite standard. So it's going to be a triple Rex opener right here from ByuN. Not entirely sure either how familiar ByuN is right here with his opponent, so maybe ByuN is thinking, you know what, I'm just going to go for the good old standard, the good old faithful timing attack. Double tech lab indeed, one reactor, triple barracks. This allows you to go for Stimpak and combat shield very early on, and it's going to make it relatively easy to shut down the Protoss player, if they're weak at the game. It's a bit of a skill check, I suppose. Anyways, Yumy in the meantime has gone for a Stargate right now, and he's following it up as well with a Twilight Council, so just a single Oracle for the time being. Yeah, maybe ByuN is not too familiar with his opponent either, right? I'm not entirely sure how much research he does whenever he's playing, like... Say, for example... You're ByuN, right? And you play in like a smaller online tournament. Do you do a little bit of research for every single one of the opponents you go up against? I guess you should, but... Especially in the earlier rounds of an event, I can imagine you're just kind of, you know, you're like, oh, ForJumy, I don't know who that is. I'm just gonna, like, play normal, go for a standard timing attack, hit him in the face, I'll probably win. Just by superior execution, right? I'm not sure. Maybe they've played against each other many times. I don't know, man. I'm just guessing. Anyways, yeah, so with a triple barracks opener... Not only can you go for a pretty stellar timing attack right when these two upgrades finish, you obviously also do have a small group of units available to defend against the, well, early game pressure of the opponent. I mean, say, for example, this would be some Blink Stalkers right now in the natural, or, well, an Oracle, as you could see. You have plenty of army to actually deal with it. NG Bay right now is a follow-up as well, so there's not going to be a factory or a starport here anytime soon. That's one of the big downsides, of course, when you go for the triple Rex start. You don't really get any medeffects until a little bit later on into the game. So just a single Oracle right here used for patrolling. It's very helpful to have that revelation as well against, for example, Widowmine drops. Already, though, the transition is coming up. Third Nexus is planted at the 6 o'clock position. And we've got ourselves I was almost going to say charge. The Blink upgrade coming up. Charge probably, though, will not be too long behind. All right, or too far behind, I suppose. Jimmy, no! It's okay, Jimmy. Thank you for taking one for the team. What do you think a Marine feels while they're inside of the stasis? Do you think they realize they're in stasis? Or do you think time is just skipping? Let me know down below in the comment section. Maybe time is just all of a sudden, I don't know, 40 seconds in the future. However long this takes. I don't know. It's not 40 seconds, is it? Jimmy Doe. Not deterred, apparently. He's just gonna try and fight this. Follows his pals towards the other side of the map. There is a shield battery over here. Pretty decent force fields as well. Little bit of a gap over there, but with the battery overcharged, with Blink finishing up very soon, I don't think this really should do any damage. Yeah, very clean defense right here for Yumi. Or for ForJumy. I wonder why his name is ForJumy. Like, it gets very confusing, right? I guess I can just call him Yumi. It should, yeah. Should be fine. Anyways. Forge comes up. Going for the upgrades right now. Additional gateway as well. Yeah, very clean so far. Chasing down his army as well. Obviously with Blink. Especially when your opponent doesn't have a whole lot of medivacs out. You can kind of chase them down relatively easily. Because every single time you stim here with these units, it's going to make them a little bit weaker, right? There's no way for them to heal up. And obviously with Blink, yep. You can poke and prot, force a stim pack, and get on out of there. Alright. Next order of business here for Yumi is gonna be a Robo Bay. We're at a single Robo facility for now, but obviously going for, well, either Disruptors or Colossi. Usually it's Colossi at this stage in the game. Is really, really good. What exactly is ByuN's next order of business? So he's just adding on more production. Third CC about halfway done, but this is definitely a point where Terran, yeah, can fall behind in the eco, right? So you can already see, worker-wise, we're currently at 62 versus 49. ByuN is currently oversaturating, gotta be careful. He is currently oversaturating his natural expansion just to try and, concussive shells are done, so a few Stalkers will die. There's the Stalker over there, man. Poor guy. Anyways, obviously you do fall behind right here in the economy as a Terran player, so you gotta kind of get some work done. So there's the Colossus coming up. It's being chrono boosted. You do want to have this out as soon as possible so you can actually deal with this sort of Terran push. It's much harder to actually defend this sort of high ground over here without the Colossi. Did the sentry die? There was a second sentry. Oh, okay, actually 2 sentries ended up dying. Alright. Dark Shrine now also as a follow-up, so Yumi feeling comfortable. You know what? Looks to me like his timing is pretty much perfect. There's the Terran army, there's the Colossus, ByuN sees it, immediately backs off. We do hit a bit of a supply block though. Pylon, about 80% done. Eventually the second Colossus coming out. This is the worst feeling, by the way. I've played plenty of Protoss myself, and it's the absolute worst when you're like, okay, I'm gonna be able to get this out, it's gonna be fantastic. And then you hit a supply block because not only does a Colossus, you know, cost a ton of minerals and gas, it basically also costs a pylon, just all on its own. The downside of having Colossi, though, is that you can't really put them in multiple locations very easily, right? Like, you don't have that much of an army. So, okay. Terran was thinking about going for a push over here. Yumi seemed to have been prepared for that as well. Even now planting down the 4th Nexus confidently, too. Yeah, solid game so far. Not really making a whole lot of errors. As far as I can tell, anyway. Second NG Bay coming up. Armory also coming up. ByuN's gonna start powering out more workers. Third command center was harassed there by a single Zealot. That Zealot actually may have bought just enough time for that Terran army to pull back. And now for the, well, the 6 o'clock base for the Protoss player to be in a relatively safe spot as well. Alright. So a little bit of testing the waters here and there in this game so far, but nothing all too crazy. It's very difficult, though. So there's a huge stasis ward, by the way, that I accidentally missed. It's very difficult to, like, split your units at the right moment, at the right time. This is actually huge. Well, it's a little bit awkward as well, though, because the Marauders, actually, they come back to life right on top of the Colossus. Or right underneath it, I guess. They're, like, in stasis, just kind of idling by, and then all of a sudden they wake up, they look up, and they, I don't know, they see a Colossus butt. Is that a thing? They see a bunch of legs. Colossi are absolutely huge, though. It's like an apartment complex. No, more like a skyscraper standing right above them. I think that could have been a little bit better there for Protoss. Maybe keeping the distance ever so slightly more. So Colossi very, very good against light units, like, for example, Marines. Not as powerful against Marauders. Anyhow, Next order of business is going to be some invisible men. One ninja moving on over towards the third base. No detection here just yet. Should be some scans available, I suppose. At the same time. Oh, the other one, I guess, was already killed. Nope. I mean, the Dark Shrine itself got killed. Oh, there it is. The blue spot on the minimap can be a little bit difficult sometimes to see. Anyways, just forcing out some damage here. Trying to even now go after the missile turret. Yep. Nicely done right here by Yumi. Just being an absolute nuisance. Alright. A little bit of counter-attack damage as well, but that was really good. 13 SCVs end up going down. Now, obviously, at this stage in the game, 13 SCVs still hurts, but we are getting to the point where, yeah, Terran can just kind of replace most of that relatively easily. I mean, it's still only 3 CC. Okay, 4 CC just about to get started. Obviously, in this matchup, usually it is Protoss that leads in the expos, but this is definitely more than what we normally see. So it's 80 workers versus 60. Disruptors have now also joined the fray. As a matter of fact, Yumi right now is pumping out 2 of those at once, which is really sweet. It's one of those units that allows you to not really die so easily. Although I say that, this is ByuN we're talking about, right? So ByuN, very, very good when it comes to microing the bio army. Yep. As displayed right there. Just split, it's easy. He's very Marauder heavy as well, by the way. So one thing you do have to keep in mind is that the... oh, there's a little bit of a Liberator over here. What was I going to say? Alright, he's very Marauder heavy, so these Colossi don't really deal any damage. Like, Colossi, they used to be good against everything. For example, in Heart of the Swarm, right? So, when Yumi's dad still played the game. Maybe he still does, I don't know. Anyways, that's when the Colossi were kind of good against everything. These days, they are very much so dedicated light killers. So they're very good against Marines. Okay, ByuN is not going to fall for that same trick, the same trick for the... Trick, rather, for the 3rd time. Wouldn't mind seeing a bunker here, but... Just scanning right here, making sure that there's no hidden units. Every single time he gets across the map, there's a little bit of a Protoss army, once again in his base. ByuN, though, obviously very comfortable with these split-up armies. So there is a huge army up here, but there's also a much bigger army down south, it seems. I mean, yeah, combined, definitely. Good blink right there by Yumi, but he's got to be careful. 6 o'clock position, in a lot of trouble. Okay, that stasis ward does put a couple of the units in stasis, but I do have the feeling, okay, without the recall, this base would be in a lot of trouble. Recall just barely completes in time. Colossus caught at the top section here. Disruptors moving forward. Pretty decent splits right there, all things considered by ByuN, but probably overstayed his welcome for just a little bit too long. Yeah, you know what? Gets another free unit. Gets another Colossus. Yep, nicely done. One thing as far as splitting goes here is obviously that whenever Europe plays against... So I'm assuming this is like an online tournament, right? Oh, hold that thought. There's another little army right here on the left side of the map. He really wants to get the Nexus. He could get it, but he doesn't really want to sacrifice the whole army. Although, you know what? Maybe he can just kill this. Yep, another Colossus ends up going down. Man, I've seen so many Colossi die in this game. Even though these Terran units are very low on hit points. Apparently it's enough. Big warp in right now inside of the main base as well. A couple of Dark Templar, a whole bunch of Zealots. Prism does end up going down. Okay. Yumi actually now on the counterattack. Yeah, so when it comes to splitting against Disruptors, whenever it's in an online tournament and it's Europe going up against Korea, they will play the North American server. Either NA Central or NA West. And, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is that splitting with like 150 ping or so is very tricky. So maybe playing that bio army is not as reliable as it would be on the Korean server is what I'm getting at. I mean, you can't really do anything else. Okay, nicely done. Preemptive Disruptor bowling right there, trying to make sure that that Widow Mine does not burrow behind the mineral line. +3 is coming up. Both players staying on top of it. Yumi's playing a very impressive game, by the way. Like, in my mind, when he submitted this replay, I mean, no disrespect at all, but this is ByuN, right? Like, I mean, I'm pretty decent at the game. I mean, I'm nowhere near 6-3k MMR, but I would get trashed if I were to play against ByuN, and so far, we're 14 minutes into it, and if anything, Yumi is currently a little bit ahead. Yeah, a little bit. Not really too crazily. I mean, he's got the 5th base up, and obviously Protoss late game is very, very, yeah, strong. Ooh, careful. Thought for a second he was going to walk his own Stalkers into that Purification Nova. That would not be ideal. My god, that's a lot of Dark Templar, man. Okay, is this the Yuumi special? There's 1 Zealot here, and how many? 15 Dark Templar. This army absolutely tears this apart. Okay, that blink was questionable. That blink sideways. That was maybe not necessarily the best move. But at the very least, the majority of those get out. Dark Templar, by the way, yeah, usually they're substitutes to like Zealots later on into the game. The problem is that Dark Templar are really freaking expensive. Oh, love it. Bowling it through the rest of the army. On the flip side, though, if you manage to blink on top of that planetary fortress, which I think is what he's planning on doing, the planetary dies in like 2 swipes. So he's actually maneuvered in a pretty interesting spot as well, where they're now hiding. Pretty sure ByuN still assumes they're hanging out over here, but they're hiding up north. Okay, well, this could get a little bit awkward. Even though the Terran structures can fly, you have to really be on top of it. Yuumi double expanding right now as well, taking basically all of the expansions on his side of the map. The bigger Protoss army, though, not in position to defend this little hit squad. At the same time, the Dark Templar are moving in. Oh, here come once again a couple of Purification Novas. Okay, he is going to indeed target fire down the Planetary. Planetary will end up going down, but that was a very expensive set of units, although at the same time, speaking of expensive sets of units, ByuN also loses a chunk of his bio. Command Center is going to make the fly of shame back towards the 12 o'clock position. I guess he's going to be forced to become a planetary over there instead. New Nexus is being acquired. Obviously, these probes could be also transferred towards one of the newly made bases. Not bad, man. Yuumi's playing a good game here. There's the fleet beacon coming up, so that's the next stage in his plan. He's forced out a lot of Marines, Marauders, Ghosts, and Medivacs. Guess what's not very good against that? Well, I guess Marines are pretty good, huh? But, yeah, Carriers, not a bad idea if you can get enough of them. Very Disruptor-heavy army right now. Well, that's one way to try and force that bio army to back off. So we're 17 minutes into the game. No one's really ahead here, right? The old main base right now floating on over towards the right side of the map. I guess the 3 o'clock position. This is still the right side of the map. This can be over, though, in a heartbeat, right? One huge Purification Nova, and Protoss can just sort of roll over this army. This is only a small hit squad, though, all things considered. Yeah, there's a lot more bio army ready to reinforce this. Yuumi with a good positioning right there as well on the Observer. Sees exactly where that army is located. As a matter of fact, he's got like... Oh, is that the Tasis and Artosis announcers? I think so. Anyways, he's currently going in for an attack right here to the 3 o'clock. That's the old main base that's currently being picked off. At the same time, ByuN heading on over towards the Natural Expo as well as the 3rd base. Carriers accidentally fly, oh no, on top of all of that bio army, even though that is the case. Apparently, they still do stay alive for quite some time. Are we not gonna... Okay, we're not gonna recall. Interestingly enough, no, recall actually is on cooldown. That's why. Apparently, he cannot recall, so that means the Nexus will end up going down. Once again, we have a couple Dark Templar up north. Should they go after the missile turret? Nah, they're just going to try and target fire down that newly made command center. And apparently that CC will also be denied. Yuumi right now awkwardly chasing this Terran army here. The Terran army, though, faster than his. So if they want to run away, especially with Stimpack, they can easily get it done. All of the carriers right now seem to mostly be without interceptors as well, so they're not going to be as useful. These Dark Templar, though, they are... You know what? In a pretty good spot, right? I mean, at this point, we don't really have that much income here for ByuN. Main base, obviously, is gone. Natural is gone as well. Okay, he will be able to kill another Nexus right here at the 9 o'clock position. Natural is going to float on over towards the 12, just because he needs it. Because ByuN is actually very broke. Like, don't forget about the 2 bases in the bottom right. They're still up and running. And even though, yeah, ByuN may have just taken care of, like, 3 of his opponent's bases. Actually, 2 or 3. A couple of them, regardless. It seemed to me like Yuumi already had a couple of Axis bases as it was. Alright, ByuN at this point is ahead in workers, but he's oversaturating his bases, so that doesn't really serve him that well. +1 flyer attacks is still coming up. Do we still have any carriers? Yeah, we still have the 2 of them. Even though they were misrallied, they have so many hit points. This is a scary Protoss army though, man. How do you fight this with a bio-based force against, well, 7 disruptors? 2 ghosts? 1 ghost, because it's ByuN. Oh, nope, you get both of them. You walked straight into that one. Dude. This is what I mean. You can't really fight this very easily. It's a weird hit squad, but the disruptors are kind of forcing this army to back off. Just disruptors on their own wouldn't do very well, but forcing out more scans. Every single one of those scans could have been a mule. As a matter of fact, right now, ByuN is, just going to try and relocate another one of his old expos. He's been sitting on a small amount of command centers pretty much the whole game long. I think at some point he went up to 5, but now only 2 of them remain. A couple of SCVs apparently now also joined the fray. ByuN's still split up with his army though, and that's absolutely massive. He can maneuver this army around quite a bit, right? This Protoss army, I mean, it's strong, like I said, but it can't really be split up. So, yeah, even though the base in the bottom right-hand corner will be saved, it looks like the natural right now is in some trouble. 2 disruptors are being produced over here. Those are not going to finish up. As a matter of fact, even the robotics facilities will be killed. And ByuN, ByuN strikes back. Nicely done. ByuN currently at a 50 supply advantage, but he cannot really face this army. Right? Like, he can't really face off against this army. How is he going to fight it? Those disruptors can keep that entire ground army at bay. Main base right now in some trouble as well, though. So ByuN has successfully maneuvered himself into that position. This is a nice little Protoss death ball. It's as good as death balls go anyway, when they're only like 80 supply big. A new Dark Shrine is being produced, which I actually kind of love. So that's all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. Dark Shrine number 2, if I'm not mistaken, also got killed. So that's the 3rd one. Widowmine right there detonating on top of one of those interceptors. Not really getting a whole lot of work done. SCVs here added into the mix as well. You're not going to walk up that ramp, though. This is technically ByuN's lawn, but apparently Yuumi is standing on top of it. Couple of units here misrallied as well for ByuN, so they get picked off for free. Main base, though, of the Protoss player, completely unpowered. He's going to need to add on additional pylons if he wants to produce anything. Yep, that's exactly what he's doing. So the bottom right-hand corner is where he's going to be at. ByuN floating another one of the command centers all the way on over towards the top left-hand corner. And Yuumi right now goes into the main base of the Terran. This is the soft underbelly of the Terran player, right? This is where all their stuff is at. Yeah, so ByuN decides to channel his inner Silver League player and lifts up all of the structures, tries to fly them to the corner of the map. ByuN, though, still, out on the map with multiple hit squads. Taking care of the 6 o'clock position. Couple of SCVs right here scouting ahead as well, and they see the new infrastructure right here of the Protoss player. Yuumi can almost warp in new Dark Templar, but it's not going to happen as this Dark Shrine will also end up going down. Main base of the Terran pretty much completely gone, although a couple of structures are still flying up in the air. Bottom right-hand corner right now in a lot of trouble. Alright, I think it's about time, guys. I know I say this every single time whenever I cast some of these crazy games, but the win condition in StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. That's the only win condition. The structures tab is open in the top left-hand corner because it seems to me like this is going to be the most important one to look at. Both players trying to see if they can race each other to the win right now. That being said, these Terran structures can fly, and that's very, very significant. Obviously, ByuN would ideally like to produce out of them, but he needs like a dozen new supply depots before he can actually properly pull all of that off. Yuumi has not rebuilt his Nexi, so that does mean he's revealed right now. ByuN can see all of the final Protoss structures on the map. There is a pylon all the way up north, which is going to be relatively easy to defend right here. And that does mean, actually, that, well, maybe Yuumi can force his opponent to engage this army. Okay. Structures at the 6 o'clock will be killed. Yuumi doesn't know exactly where his... Oh, actually, he does. Yeah, no, he does know exactly where his opponent is located. He's going to be able to go after the command center in the top left-hand corner. ByuN not even going to bother lifting that again because he knows that there's really no way for them to stay alive. ByuN, though, still apparently had to smash his piggy bank, but he had some minerals in there, so he starts up 2 new command centers in the bottom right-hand corner. 4 barracks remain, 2 command centers remain, and a single pylon. Does Yumi still have a probe? He does still have a probe. He's got 1,100 minerals, so he can rebuild the Nexus. I don't know if he's going to, though. Yeah, this is a very tricky army to actually... I think you want to try and win, right? Okay, he decides to go for another pylon right here. Close to the Terran structures. Fair enough. A couple of units nipped in the butt. Not bad. ByuN still splitting up his units, by the way. Madman that he is. Does he know? He has seen that... Yeah, obviously he knows because his opponent is revealed. Okay, so he knows that there's only 2 pylons at this stage in the game. The one in the top left-hand corner will be killed. Is ByuN gonna try and engage this one as well? If he snipes that pylon, he ends up winning the game. Yeah, he just right-click on top of it. The Disruptors blow up all of the army. The Disruptors blow up all of the army. That was a massive gamble right there from Micro Jackson. But apparently ByuN, with the slightly better decision-making, does make the call. Hey, shout out to Yumi for sending me this game. And actually props as well for sending me a loss. That's really cool.